Once again, Christian greetings to all our valued listeners and viewers throughout the whole world. Even more particularly to all Shepherd's Rod believers, and most especially to our beloved brothers and sisters in the United States of America. And special greetings to our brethren in Colorado, our brethren in Georgia, in Kansas, in Texas, Missouri, in Chicago, Illinois, in Fiji Island, Mexico, Spain, in Africa, Kenya, Zambia, Pakistan, to the United Kingdom, and also to our brethren in Australia. And to the rest of the 144,000 living saints scattered abroad, greetings. May the good Lord bless you, brothers and sisters. This is our special episode number 11 on the subject, the beast and its image. I would like to read answerer number 1 on page 60 and 61. It says, "We, though having in this age the tremendous advantage of knowing the respective pitfalls which have proved fatal to the multitudes in past movements, shall suffer a proportionately greater condemnation and punishment if we fail to recognize and avoid the pitfall he has for us today. And what is more, if we fail, we shall witness thereby to the universe that we are the weakest of the weak. We must stand against the most ingenious special trap ever set by the evil one. But how shall we do so if we know not what it is or where it is?" Answerer number 1, page 60 and page 61. But in 2SR 107, it says, "God, who is so particular for the good of His church in revealing His truth to His people, has presented to us wonderful pictures of historical events, which is the evidence of love everlasting for Israel, His chosen, the first fruits of His harvest. Thus the God of Jacob, thousands of years in advance, had laid His plans to present to His people a work of prophetic art with divine touch." 2SR page 107. I would like to connect this reading and track number 12. I think page 91. That's really the statement. Track number 12, page 90 and page 91. It says, our prayer, therefore, is that all make sure that their names are in Michael's book of life. For those whose names are not there will be left to go down in eternal ruin. On page 91, it says, since the prophecies dealt with herein linked together many centuries of history, we have, in the scope of this track, been able but briefly to treat of the history involved, giving special attention to the part which the Lord is to guide the feet of everyone who is anxious to take up the cross and to follow Him safely over the bottomless pit, into which all other living are soon to fall. The truth here brought to light, shining as clearly as it does, should convince and convert all the honest who wish to escape the coming doom. Track number 12, page 90 and page 91. Here and track number 15, I would like to read again. On page 76, it says, no, inspiration would not thus confuse its terms and still expect us to comprehend its teachings, to know how to interpret its symbols, and when to expect the actual events to take place. So, we are now studying, brothers and sisters, the actual events which is soon to take place. Now, since our main subject is the beast and its image, by which more definitely pointing to the King of the North. And according to track number 12, on page 76, it says, in these verses, the personal pronouns of the two antagonists, the king of the south and the king of the north, are not traceable by grammatical law but only by the logic of events. So I would like to read again, tract number 12, page 76. In these verses, that is pointing to the entire verses of Daniel chapter 11. And if we will be talking about Daniel chapter 11, that is the explanation given by Michael to the vision of Daniel concerning the exceeding great horn on Daniel chapter 8. Although the last two chapters is the full explanation. Daniel 11 and Daniel chapter 12. Here in 2TG, number 33, it says on page 10, Daniel was then promised all the light that could be given, not only on the vision of chapter 8, but on all that is noted in the scripture of truth in connection with the vision. Not only on chapter 8, but the entire book of Daniel had been summarized with the full explanation found on chapter 11 and chapter 12. It says that which Daniel showed him is recorded in chapters 11 and 12. Chapter 11, you will see, begins with the vision of chapter 8, with the kings of Medo-Persia and Grecia, as symbolized by the ram and he-goat in chapter 8. Then was Daniel told that the explanation at last was sufficient, but that it was impossible for him to understand it all, for the vision was sealed to the time of the end. In tract number 3, it says, let us read the statement given by the Shepherd's Rod on page 35. Tract number 3, page 35. That chapters 11 and 12 contain the explanation of the vision promised by the angel in chapter 10, and that is verse 21, can be readily recognized not only from the continuity of the angel's speech, but also from the fact that these chapters are the explanation of the vision in the 8th chapter, by which the particular object in view is the exceeding great horn, because that is the only thing that Daniel did not understand, according to page 34 on tract number 3. It says, the work of the exceeding great horn, was therefore what he did not understand. And so it was that later in those days he was again mourning, this time 3 full weeks. So it was the work of the exceeding great horn that Daniel did not understand. And of course, brothers and sisters, of all the books in the Old Testament, the book of Daniel was mentioned specifically by Jesus Christ in Matthew 24, verse 15 and verse 16. And I will no longer elaborate that the particular object in view could not be during the dark ages of religion, during the papal supremacy. For the people of God at that time had no understanding concerning the book of Daniel. According to 2 TG number 7, page 3. But there was a divine command, as stated in tract number 12, page 81, that those who read it, let him understand. And it is very inconsistent that such divine command was given by Christ to the generation by which he himself sealed the book, that it utters the impossibility to understand it. So it must be in the last period of the exceeding great horn, by which, in reality, the prophecy will find its perfect fulfillment. Why? Because we studied several times that according to Daniel 2 verse 39, it is the brass kingdom that shall bear rule over all the earth. And the shepherd's rod declared clearly that, hoping that you will be giving the passages that I'm mentioning. Daniel 2 verse 39. And according to 2SR 139, the shepherd's rod made it so plain that Grecia never be rule over all the earth. And the shepherd's rod declared clearly that if the fulfillment of the prophecy is found on the period of pagan Rome and papal Rome, then God would not say the brass kingdom. It must be the iron kingdom. According to 2SR 140. So, the truth of the matter is that God uses the term the brass kingdom because brass, the metal brass, has a numerical value of number 3, tract number 2, page 13. Tract number 2, page 13. So it must be pointing to the third period of the exceeding great horn, as stated in tract number 3, page 39. So this statement that I would like to read is pointing to our generation, brothers and sisters. Now, I would like to read tract number 3, page 25. It says, when ye, his followers, who were to be living at the time this horn power was at work against God, against his truth, and against his people. What truth? The truth expressed by the daily and the sanctuary. 2SR 139, the truth expressed by the daily and the sanctuary. It says, those who were to be living at the time that this horn power was at work against God, against his truth, the truth expressed by the daily and the sanctuary, and against his people, pointing to the living saints, the 144,000 living saints. Therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Now, I would like to go back again to our reading. In tract number 12, page 76. That concerning the subject on Daniel chapter 11, according to this reading, in tract number 12, page 76, it says, in these verses, the personal pronouns of the two antagonists, the king of the south and the king of the north, are not traceable by grammatical law, but only by the logic of events. And the shepherd's rod admonishes us here in tract number 12, pages 64 and page 65, saying, in the light of these foregone fundamental facts, we should now be able to rightly evaluate the unfolding of the scroll and to intelligently match the page of prophecy with the page of history. So we need now to intelligently match the pages of history with the pages of prophecy, according to the voice of inspiration. Or here in tract number 12, on page 86, it says that in order to fix the truth in our minds before passing from prophecy fulfilled to prophecy unfulfilled, it is expedient to attend to the following review. Now, brothers and sisters, at this time, I will no longer review the entire history in Daniel chapter 11, because I fully believe that we as Shepherd's Rod believers are familiar of it. But Let us now try to dig deeper the prophecy which is still unfulfilled. Now, as far as the book of Daniel, on Daniel chapter 11, the shepherd's rod plainly told us that the remaining verse, which is still unfulfilled, is verse 45. According to 2TG 42, page 27. Now, I would like to read the reading. It says, verse 45, and he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. This is the commentary given by the shepherd's rod. The only portion of Daniel chapter 11 yet to be fulfilled is this verse. The last of the chapter. And since these prophecies are made to be understood only when they are being fulfilled or after fulfillment, verse 45 is not as clear as we should like to have it. Or in other words, not all that pertains to Daniel 11 verse 45 was clearly understood in the days of Beti-Hotep. But that assurance given in 2TG number 33 on page 10, in reality, is definitely applied to the last generation of men, the saints that will no longer to taste death, you and I, by which, according to 2TG 33 page 10, that the explanation was sufficient. Or in other words, God has provided us all the necessary information concerning the final and the perfect fulfillment of Daniel 11 verse 45. And that is the Bible and the Golden Bowl. And even more particularly to the Shepherd's Rod publications, because as far as the messengers of God outside the Bible, there is no inspired servant of God that explains very well Daniel chapter 11 rather than the shepherd's rod. Although the same with Daniel, God did not give all the understanding to Ptahhotep. But the explanation and all the resources are sufficient. The Shepherd's Rod Publications. Now let us read again the statement. Here in 2TG number 42, page 27. The only portion of Daniel chapter 11 yet to be fulfilled is this verse 45. The last of the chapter. And since these prophecies, you see, brothers and sisters, verse 45 is not a prophecy, but prophecies inscribed in plural form. Meaning, verse 45 is not referring only to one event. It does not refer only to one prophecy, but rather prophecies. Now, let's read again the statement. It says, and since these prophecies are made to be understood only when they are being fulfilled or after fulfillment, so this reading can be easily understood that Daniel 11:45, since it was inscribed in plural form, prophecies plainly indicating, as stated by the shepherd's rod, that there are some prophecies recorded in Daniel 11 verse 45 which are to be made understood at the time when it is being fulfilled, and the other prophecies concerning verse 45 are to be made understood after their fulfillment. But of course, my dear brothers and sisters, logically, the prophecies in Daniel 11 verse 45, which to be made understood at the time that they are being fulfilled, precedes the prophecies that are to be made understood after its fulfillment. Now let us continue reading. 2TG 42, page 27. It says, and since these prophecies are to be made understood only when they are being fulfilled, so there are portion of Daniel 11:45 by which it will be understood only at the time when they are being fulfilled. Or in other words, at this time, if we could understand it clearly, then there is no other safe conclusion to declare that such prophecies are being fulfilled, although the others are to be made understood after fulfillment. So let us now divide the portion to be made understood at the time when they are being fulfilled, and in the period that to be made understood after their fulfillment. But we should not, however, forget that the pronouns recorded in Daniel 11 verse 45 is not traceable with the grammatical law, but only by logic of events. Or in other words, current events that may fulfill prophecy. I would like to read that statement in track number 12. Track number 12, page 53. It says, so let us read the statement. Coming back now to our present world crisis, since, as previously mentioned, the crown kings of today, Revelation 13, have already dwindled to a handful, and since the churches in their cry for peace and safety are endeavoring to clasp hands with one another, we should do wisely now to inquire into current events that may fulfill prophecy. So, that is the statement, brothers and sisters. Track number 12, page 53. So, we need to follow the current events by which that current events are fulfilling the prophecy. The prophecy are being fulfilled by the current events. Concerning current events, brethren, if you will read 2TG number 41 on page 3, it says, current events. So, current events, the Palestine situation, and how close the separation. I will no longer read the entire paragraph here in 2TG 41 page 3 because I think it is not necessary at this time, although we will take this subject on the subject, the Assyrian Confederacy. But if you will go to page 4, it says, the most exciting current event that we know of is the presidential election, which stands only 2 days in the future. Now, brothers and sisters, in that timely greetings to TG 41, there are 4 events that have been linked to each other. It says, first, concerning the current events, the most exciting is the presidential election of the United States of America. Now, let us now see if the presidential election of the United States of America that was occurred on November 3, 2020 is the fulfillment of that predicted event. And the second one that is linked is the Palestine situation. The Palestine situation. And then mentioned the Passover night, by which in that night, according to the reading, I would like to read. To TG 41, page 3, it says, just to read the last portion of the first paragraph, it says, I had been asked to give a study on current events, on the Palestine situation, and on the separation caused by the slaughter that is forecast in Ezekiel's vision. Then it says, but those who receive not the mark will fall under the slaughter weapons of the angels, as did the unfaithful firstborn in the night of the Passover in the land of Egypt. So, in that study, the presidential election of the United States of America and the midnight slaughtering and the Palestine situation and the current events, these four are linked to each other, indicating that they are closely connected. Now let us go back again to the reading in 2TG number 42 on page 27. It says, and since these prophecies are made to be understood only when they are being fulfilled or after fulfillment, verse 45 is not as clear as we should like to have it. But at this time, we can testify, brothers and sisters, by saying that, and since these prophecies are now being fulfilled, then God gave unto us the clear understanding, the complete unfoldment concerning verse 45, those prophecies by which they are now being fulfilled in the year 2020 and in the year 2021. And then it says, consequently, concerning the palace, concerning the place of his tabernacles, it says, consequently, concerning the place of his tabernacles and his end, also as to whether another Christian power shall inherit the title King of the North, before verse 45 is fulfilled, only time itself will positively portray the whole truth. This was written in 1948. B.T. Hotep says that they had no understanding at that time whether there is another Christian nation to inherit the title King of the North before verse 45 is to be fulfilled. But if you will read 2SR 151, he plainly declared that the last Christian nation to inherit the title King of the North is the two-horned beast. Now, let us read the statement in 2SR. 2SR page 151. It says, the two-horned beast is the only one representing a local religio-political government. Only the two-horned beast is the only one representing a local religio-political government. Now, if you will dig deeper, brothers and sisters, in this study, we can easily understand that the time when America had became an independent nation, from the very first president, George Washington, onwards, they are represented by the lamb-like horns. But the description, two-horned beast, in reality, is pointing. I would like to explain this portion gradually. Pointing to the last two presidents of the United States of America. The 45th and the 46th president. Now, I would like to read the statement here. Because in 1948, the statement in 2TG 42, page 27, definitely declared, B.T. Hotep says, that they did not know if there is another Christian nation to inherit the title King of the North. But we know that there is. The King of the North in the days of B.T. Hotep is Great Britain, in particular, according to B.T. Hotep. That is the King of the North. Let us read first the statement in 2TG. It says here, page 10, that the King of the North at the present time is Great Britain in particular. This was written in 1947. So the statement in 1948, the King of the North at that time is Great Britain in particular. So it cannot be construed that B.T. Hotep did not understand that the last title, King of the North, brothers and sisters, that the last title, King of the North, will be inherited by the United States of America, because B.T. Hotep wrote it in 1932, 2SR 151. he plainly declared that the last power represented by the king of the north is the two-horned beast, and Great Britain is not the two-horned beast. Therefore, what B.T. Hotep did not understand, I would like to read first. 2 symbolic code. Number 1, page 8. 2 symbolic code, number 1, page 8. 2 symbolic code, number 1, page 8. It says, question: does Brother Hotep have any light on who the king of the north or the king of the south represent? So the focal point of the question is the king of the north and the king of the south. I remember that statement in track number 12. It says here in page 64, track number 12, page 64, it says, for the titles of the kings who conquered and who lost these ancient countries are chronicled in this prophetic chapter to preserve the identity and to expose the evil intents of both the kings of the south and the king of the north. So, what is the evil intents of the king of the south? What is the evil intents of the king of the north? So we need to study closely, brothers and sisters. And it is not traceable with the grammatical law, only by the logic of events. So I would like to read 2 symbolic code number 1 on page 8. It says, does Brother Hotep have any light on who the king of the north or the king of the south represent? Answer. The answer to the above question is found in A Word to the Little Flock, one of the earliest Seventh-day Adventist publications, in which Sister White says, I saw all that would not receive the mark of the beast. You see, brothers and sisters, the question king of the north and king of the south, the answer given by B.T. Hotep is concerning the mark of the beast and of his image. So, they are closely connected. Daniel 11 verse 45 and pointing to the four winds in Revelation 7 verse 1 to 4. Now, I would like to read. Now, continue reading here. To Symbolic Code 1, page 8. The answer to the above question is found in A Word to the Little Flock, one of the earliest Seventh-day Adventist publications, in which Sister White says, I saw all that would not receive the mark of the beast and of his image in their foreheads or in their hands. We already explained several times, right? That receiving the mark of the beast and of his image in their foreheads precedes the receiving of the mark of the beast and of his image in their hands. Foreheads indicate intellectual, meaning these people voluntarily submitted to such system ignorantly. Brothers and sisters. Now, it says here, I saw all that would not receive the mark of the beast and of his image in their foreheads or in their hands could not buy or sell. I saw that the number 666 of the image beast was made up. Page 19. It says, to repeat again, it was inscribed in past tense. Of the image beast was made up. Then it says, Michael is to stand up at the time that the last power in chapter 11. Of course, verse 45, meaning the last Christian nation to inherit the title King of the North. So we will read to us R151, the answer of this statement. It says, come to his end and none to help him. This power is brought to view in Revelation 13:11-18. His number is 666. We forget to encode this one. Although it was published by the Bayesian movement, but I would like to read this publication. And track number 16. It says here on page 19, it says, also it appears more than likely that this symbolical prophecy, because I already told you to encode this one, but you never encoded. Track number 12, track number 16, page 19. Also it appears more than likely that this symbolical prophecy reflects the combined church-state effort of the two horned beasts to clamp down on communism, so as to save the world system of religion and set up a world government with the federated churches being its brains and the states its power. But the beast number being in 66 or 666, not in 777, biblically denoting completeness or all, shows absence of a part of the world from its system of worship. So, this is the statement given here, brothers and sisters. So, who are they? The combined church-state effort of the two horned beasts to clamp down on communism. So, observe clearly, because everything that was written in the Bible and as explained by the shepherd's rod are being fulfilled. Brothers and sisters, from the 45th president to the 46th president. And to repeat again, it is only by logic of events that we can trace the fulfillment of the prophecy, not with grammatical law. Now, it says here, to symbolic code number 1, page 8. The above explains that the two-horned beast is the one to whom the number 666 belongs. So the statement, the two-horned beast, is the one to whom the number 666 belongs, cannot be referring to all the President of the United States of America. Brothers and sisters. And we will show to you that it is fulfilling from the 45th to the 46th President, and how the Bible and the Spirit Prophecy and the Shepherd's Rod publications are accurately giving us the full information. Now let's read again the statement. To Symbolic Code number 1, page 8. The above explains that the two-horned beast, when you say two-horned beast, what does it mean? Now, let us read 4SP. 4SP. It says, this beast has two horns, the civil and the ecclesiastical. So, the two horns, brothers and sisters, are divided into two divisions. First, pointing to the two ruling parties. Brothers and sisters, two ruling parties in the United States of America. Republican and Democrats. 2TG, number 17. To TG number 17. Let me see. I can find that statement. Page 10. It says, page 10. This two-horned beast that arises after the formation of the leopard-like beast in the Protestant period is the United States. Moreover, the United States is already a world power, and so we need not be guessing anymore. The beast's two horns point to its two political ruling powers, Democrats and Republicans. So, that is the first stage of the symbolization of the two horns. Democrats and Republican, the two ruling parties in the United States of America. But the time will come, as predicted beforehand, that the symbolization of the two horns is civil and ecclesiastical. Now, I would like to read to you here on track number 12 on page 12 on page 59. So let us read track number 12, page 59. It is well to remember that aside from stating the geographic locations of the four Grecian divisions, the prophetic record of the entire chain of events is devoted to the King of the South. What is the intent of the King of the South? brothers and sisters, the king of the south is pertaining to Palestine. And it is pointing to the Mohammedans. What is the evil intent of the Mohammedans? To block out Israel in the Middle East. That is their evil intents. I would like to read first the statement here in tract number 12. It says on page 75. Tract number 12, page 75. The conflicts between the South and the North following the Greco-Roman wars were between the Mohammedans and the Christians. But it points out to the king of the North. Who is the last title king of the North? What nation inherited? United States of America. And who is the greatest enemy of America today in the Middle East? Current events, we know that is Iran, brothers and sisters. Now, I would like to read here the statement. Tract number 12, page 75. It says, the conflicts between the South and the North following the Greco-Roman wars were between the Mohammedans and the Christians. At that time, therefore, while the title King of the North applies to the rulers of Christianized Rome, the title King of the South applies to the Mohammedan rulers. We know that the Muslims in the Middle East, brothers and sisters, they were not united. And it was divided into two ideologies, Sunni and I forgot the other one. That two ideology of the Muslim countries. And here the Bible is very plain. Let us read Zechariah. Zechariah chapter 14. Let us read. Zechariah chapter 14 on verse 1. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle. Who will gather all nations? Who are the nations mentioned here? The non-Christian nations in the Middle East. More definitely pointing to the Muslim countries. So this verse in Zechariah 14 verse 2, that the Lord himself will be the one to gather all these nations to attack Jerusalem, is the same with Revelation 17:13 and 17. That God will put into their hearts that they will be united together to attack Jerusalem. And we know that the two factions is Sunni and, is that Shia? The two ideologies, or the two ideology of the Muslim countries by which they cannot unite each other. But the time will come that it is God Himself. I will gather all nations to attack Jerusalem. So the fulfillment of the prophecy is in the hand of God. Now, let's go back again, brothers and sisters, to our reading in track number 12. On page 59, it says, it is well to remember that aside from stating the geographic locations of the 4 Grecian divisions, the prophetic record of the entire chain of events is devoted to the king of the south. What is the evil intents of the king of the south? To blot out Israel in existence in the Middle East. That is the evil intent. And then it says, unto the king of the north. Now, we need to focus our attention now to the king of the north. The last Christian nation inherited the king of the north, United States of America. It says, the acts of the king of the north, however, are especially emphasized, showing the whole prophetic account is given particularly to expose his meddling with holy things. Brethren, I will no longer elaborate the statement holy things. It pertains to religion. So the particular object in view, recorded in the Bible as explained by the shepherd's rod, is pointing to the President of the United States of America, by which he will be meddling religious aspects. I think every American citizen is cognizant to the absolute fact that of all the president in the United States of America, it is Donald Trump that engaged so much in religious aspects. And that religious freedom that had been established by Donald Trump in reality points to the image of the leopard like this. Now, we will now be studying to prove to you that these last 2 presidents is the predicted presidents recorded in the Bible, by which it cannot be traced by grammatical law, because if we'll be following grammatical law, it was inscribed in singular form, but it cannot be traceable only by logic of events. Now let us go back to our reading in 2 Symbolical. Number 1, page 8. It says, the above explains that the two-horned beast is the one to whom the number 666 belongs. Then we'll be studying that mystical number 666. And that this beast of Revelation 13, 11 to 18, and the king of the north of Daniel 11:45, pointing to the king of the north, Daniel 11:45, by which Beth-Hotep says in 2 TG 42:27, is still unfulfilled in 1948. Look at the year 1948. I would like to show, brothers and sisters. 1948. Very significant year. 1948 AD. To TG42. Not only to TG42 as well as to TG41. It was written in 1948. That is very plain, where P.T. says that Daniel 11 verse 45 is still unfulfilled. So what is Daniel 11 verse 45? Pointing to the predicted president of the United States of America. We will continue reading here in to Symbolic Code number 1, page 8. And let's ponder deeply, brothers and sisters. And I would like to quote first, comparing to TG 36, page 3. It was also written in 1948. May 15, 1948. But to TG 41, it was written November 6, 1948. So we have May, June, July, August, September, October, November. So at least 7 months. Or more than 6 months. I would like to read the title here in 2TG number 17. Page 3. At 2TG 36, rather. 2TG 36, page 3. Democracy, communism, Catholicism, or Protestantism, which is next to rule the world? So, it says, democracy, communism, Catholicism, or Protestantism, which is next to rule the world. Then, it says, it was written May 15, 1948. May 15, 1948. But in 2TG 41, page 3, written November 6, 1948. Current events, the Palestine situation, and how close the separation. And to repeat again, brothers and sisters, somewhere in 2016, I asked the highest officer, the vice president, on the Waco advocators, concerning this paragraph, brothers and sisters. It says, the most exciting current event that we know of is the presidential election, which is only 2 days in the future. As the nation sees it, this is now the biggest thing in the world, even though many will not get what they want, for each of the different parties has named its own nominee on the presidential ballot, but only one president is to be elected. Then I ask, when does this presidential election occur? Then, when we showed to him that it was written November 6, 1948, then he immediately declared, it was in November 8, 1948. But when we look at the historical event, the presidential election in 1948 occurred on November 2, not November 8. Therefore, we found out that this one is prophetic. This one is prophetic, brothers and sisters. There is a mystery in this paragraph. Since it was written in November 6, therefore the presidential election must be November 8. The same if you will add the presidential election in 1948, November 2, 2 plus 6 equals 8. November 6, 2 days in the future, November 8, pointing to the presidential election in the United States of America in 2016, November 8, 2016. Can you show that phenomenon on our diagram? Would you think it is just a mere happenstance? Brethren, and we will show to you how the occurrence in the heavenly sanctuary corroborates to the occurrences on the earthly sanctuary. You see, this is the two phenomenon. 1948, leap year. 2016, leap year. January 26, 1948, supermoon appeared on Monday. November 14, 2016, supermoon appeared on Monday. You see, brothers and sisters, you think it is just a mere happenstance that the presidential election in 1948, November 2, leap year, the presidential election in 2016, November 8, leap year, that in 1948, supermoon appeared on Monday, and in 2016, supermoon appeared on Monday. No. It is purposive design. Brothers and sisters. What is 1948? Would you think, brothers and sisters, I would like to read first the statement in 2SR 221. 2SR 221. It says, the first seal covers the entire period from Adam to the flood. The second from the flood to Abraham. The third from Abraham to Christ. Now, if you will look at, brothers and sisters, the call of Abraham to leave Haran in 1921 BC, I'm sorry, 1917 BC. BC, to leave Haran to the year of crucifixion, 31 AD, that is 1917 plus 31 equals 1,948 years. So what is the connection of 1948 and 1,948 years? The entire period of the third seal, 1,948 years. We will show to you on another subject that 1948 is prophetic, closely connected to the proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary. That the the entire proceeding of the third seal consists only 1,948 days. Although that is in another subject. But we only show to you how the prophecies link to each other, my dear brothers and sisters. Now let us go back to the reading into Symbolic Code number 1, page 8. It says, therefore, the nation represented by this particular beast and the king of the north, or the man who is to be the head king of that nation, in the time when this image beast, the two horn. What is the two horn? Image beast. Do not forget that, brothers and sisters. The two horn represents the image beast. Then it says, the two horn enforces the worship of his image. Now, let us distinctly separate the statement that the formation of the image and the enforcement, because enforcement must be after the formation. For example, here in 1 Symbolic Code number 4. One Symbolic Code number 4, page 7. It says, thus the papal broken rock, being cemented together by the two-horned beast, so, what is the representation of the horn? Civil aspect. So, brothers and sisters, the number 2 horn has many significance. And we would like to prove to you that the 2 horn is more directly applied to the last 2 presidents of the United States of America. The beast represent United States of America. But the 2 horn is directly addressed to the last 2 presidents of the United States of America. Now, I would like to read the reading. It says, thus the papal broken rock, being cemented together by the two-horned beast, Revelation 13:14, is the formation of the image to the leopard-like beast. So, it says, in the period when prevailing against the saints of the Most High for 42 months. What is that period? During the Dark Ages. The pre-wounded state. Why is it that it was not wounded? Because it is a multi-sectarian system. Multi-sectarian system. As pictured on the image, according to 2 SR 114. What had been wounded by Martin Luther? The monosectarian. So, this beast, he will be the one to revive that kind of system during the Dark Ages of religion, by which that system had not been wounded by the Protestant Reformation. The multi-sectarian system, and it is called religious freedom. And everybody knew that it was Donald Trump that established that form religious freedom. Now, I would like to read here in To Symbolic Code, number 1, page 8, it says, enforces between the setting up of the confederacy of Isaiah 8:9 and the rise of Babylon. It is the setting up of God's kingdom. So, brothers and sisters, I would like to show to you Daniel 2 verse 44. And partner deeply. Daniel 2 verse 44. The sitting of God's kingdom. Now, I would like to read track number 12. On page 41. Track number 12, page 41. Maybe I would like to begin on page 40 and then page 41. On track number 12. So let us read the statement, brethren. It says, the wilderness locates the scarlet-colored beast domain. So, where is the dominion of the scarlet-colored beast? Wilderness. So that is wilderness according to the voice of inspiration. Now, just to make a little review. What is the scarlet-colored beast? The image of the beast. One Symbolic Code, number 4, page 7. It's very important for us to have a definite understanding concerning the scarlet-colored beast. What is the scarlet-colored beast? The image of the beast. One Symbolic Code, number 4, page 7. It says, and the image of the beast above mentioned is the third, of which the scarlet-colored beast of Revelation 17 is symbolical. One Symbolic Code, number 4, page 7, and the image of the beast above mentioned is the third, of which the scarlet-colored beast of Revelation 17 is symbolical. So, that is very plain, brothers and sisters. What is the scarlet-colored beast? The image of the beast. Here's another statement in 2SR 113. 2SR 113. The last is an image of the first, verifying the fact that the scarlet-colored beast represents the image of the beast. So the scarlet-colored beast represents the image of the beast. What is the next step? Who made the image of the beast? The two-horned beast. The two-horned beast, brothers and sisters, according to Symbolic Code 1, page 8. And also Great Controversy 443. And also in the writings of Alonzo Jones. The image of the beast is formed and made in the United States of America. What is the image of the beast? The four winds. The four winds. That's why we read track number 8, 21, 22. The four winds are already in existence at the ceiling of the 144,000. For there is no reason to hold the four winds if there is no four winds. And in track number 3, third edition, 115, it says that when the judgment of the living commences, and the image of the beast is fully made up. So at the commencement of the judgment of the living, the image of the beast is fully made up. That is very plain. And what is the commencement of the judgment of the living? 2SR 171. The sealing of the 144,000 is at the beginning of the judgment of the living. So the holding of the four winds is holding the image of the beast activity. Track number 8, page 22. Holding the image of the beast activity, that it shall not blow, meaning it will not be implemented. And where is the place that the image of the beast will be formed? United States of America. But United States of America is vineyard. Why is it that the image of the beast is found in the wilderness? What is the significance? We already explained 2SR 112, 2TG 1819, that the seven heads of the scarlet-colored beast uninjured, not wounded. Why is it that it was not wounded? What is the scarlet-colored beast? The image of the beast. Who will form the image of the beast? United States of America. Within the United States of America, what is the image of the beast? The four winds. It was made. Even before the sealing of the 144,000. And that is the reason, hold the four winds, because it was already made. It was made up. But why is it that such image of the beast are no longer wounded? Because the bottom line is that the vineyard is desolate. That is the reason why the scarlet-colored beast is in the wilderness, to let us know that the vineyard, which is the United States of America, is desolate. Track number 6, meaning the husbandman has left the vineyard, as typifying the ancient Palestine, as stated here in track number 6, page 33, his vineyard desolate. It says, the fact that this vineyard, figurative of the church, Isaiah 5:7, so this is vineyard. If you will say figurative, it is not the literal vineyard. What is vineyard? Track number 1243, vineyard Palestine. We have the literal Palestine and we have the figurative modern Palestine. 1SR 158, United States of America. And it says, the fact that this vineyard, figurative of the church, Isaiah 5:7, wherein its vine was once worth a silverling, has become a place for briars and thorns, shows that its husbandman, who is the husbandman? Jesus Christ, has left it desolate, a type condition which Christ more fully projected in the following words in Matthew 23:37-38. Your house is left unto you desolate. What does it mean by desolate? Track number 3, page 41, God's presence completely removed. Track number 3, page 48. Desolate, meaning His presence completely removed. So through the symbolization of the scarlet-colored beast, God revealed unto us that it was predicted beforehand that United States of America will become wilderness. Why? Because God's presence had been completely removed. If God's movement is raised up in the United States of America, God would not reveal to John that the scarlet-colored beast, which is the image of the beast, which is formed by the two-horned beast, which is formed by the United States of America, is unharmed, brothers and sisters, not wounded, if there is a divinely called movement in the United States of America, which is of God. Because as long as there is a divinely called movement, aided by the writings of the spirit of prophecy, the head will be wounded. 2SR, page 97. Brethren, it's easy to misconstrue the Word of God, the written Word of God. 2SR 288. Written words can be misconstrued, but symbols cannot. Thus making the learned and unlearned to immediately distinguish the difference between truth and error. 2SR page 10. While the enemy has succeeded in confusing the written Word of God, God lightens the earth with these symbolic revelations. And with type. You see, we have the type. What is the type? Jewish nation. The ancient vineyard. What happened? Became the dragon's headquarters. Track number 15, page 85-86. The vineyard became the dragon's headquarters. What is the representation of the two horn? Religio-political government. In what symbolization that the religio-political government, brothers and sisters, had been portrayed in the Bible? Only on the red dragon. Now let me read to you the statement in 2SR. It says here, SR page 88 and page 88. It says, the crowns represent civil authority. 2SR page 88. The crowns represent civil authority. As previously explained, had they been on the heads like on the dragon of Revelation 12 verse 3, it would denote that the churches are using the civil arm of the state to propagate their dogma, as in the days of imperial and papal Rome, represented by the dragon. In page 2SR 113, it says, let us read. Note that the dragon of Revelation 12 verse 3 has the crown on his heads, not on his horns. It has been previously explained that when the crowns appear on the heads, it denotes religio-political system. Now, brothers and sisters, what is the representation of the religio-political system? Represented by the heads having crown. And that symbolization cannot be found in any other beast, but only on the red dragon. So there are three periods of the exceeding great horn represented by the red dragon: pagan Rome, papal Rome, and then American Rome, the Protestant America. Religio, political, government. Now, let us go back again to our reading. Brothers and sisters. So, I would like to read to you. In tract number 12, page 41 and page 42. It says, the wilderness locates the scarlet-colored beast domain. By contrast, a wilderness is the opposite of a vineyard. Brethren, we need to know that the premillennial kingdom, which is of the dragon, will be established in the United States of America. Prophecy must be fulfilled. That they called, brothers and sisters, as the theocratic form of government, a monarchical government, which is of Satan, will be established in the United States of America according to the voice of inspiration. And we will read to you one by one, word for word, how does the voice of inspiration is plainly telling you and I. So I would like to read the statement. Tract number 12, page 40 and 41. By contrast, a wilderness is the opposite of a vineyard. And since a vineyard is figurative of the home of God's people, the wilderness can only represent the home of the Gentiles. The beast being in the wilderness indicates that at the time comes into existence. Brothers and sisters, when does the scarlet-colored beast began to exist? 2 SR 114, 1929. I would like to read. 2 SR 114. It says, the period represented by the scarlet-colored beast commenced in 1929. So where is the wilderness? And where is the vineyard in 1929? Because the statement, at the time, brothers and sisters, at the time when the scarlet-colored beast began to exist, there is also a vineyard. Now, the scarlet-colored beast began to exist 1929. So, what is the wilderness? This is the old world. The old world that had been fallen. Or, specifically, the continent of Europe. So, what is the vineyard? That is United States of America. But in the perfect fulfillment of the prophecy, brothers and sisters, since the image of the beast is the scarlet-colored beast, and it is formed by the United States of America, and it will be formed in the United States of America, meaning this vineyard became desolate, become wilderness, and at the time when this vineyard become desolate, become wilderness, Assyria is about to perish, and at the same time, at that time, brothers and sisters, God's kingdom is already in existence. What kingdom? Daniel 2 verse 44. Now, I would like to read tract number 12, page 41. The certainty that both the vineyard and the wilderness are in existence at the same time shows first that Babylon ruling the beast, reigns only over the wilderness, Gentile world. And second, that if God's people are called to go into the vineyard, the kingdom restored, where there are no sins and where there is no fear of their receiving the plagues. Of this kingdom of safety, the prophet Daniel wrote, and in the days of these kings. I will no longer read because we are familiar with Daniel 2 verse 44. But I would like to emphasize the kings mentioned there is the crown kings. The kings mentioned pointing to the crown kings of the leopard-like beast. In the day of these kings, meaning while that kings are reigning, before they will be uncrowned. Because when the woman sits on the scarlet-colored beast, there are no more crown kings. Let us read tract number 12. On page 32, it says, now from the manifest similarity between the leopard-like beast and the scarlet-colored beast, one should recognize that the latter is the image of the former. His deadly wound having been healed and his horns uncrowned. The crownless horns of the latter show that he represents the world in a time in which there are no crown kings, but that instead the world is ruled by an ecclesiastical head, the woman that drives the beast. Therefore, such kingdom, Daniel 2 verse 44, must be established prior to the time when the woman rides the scarlet-colored beast. Because the Bible is very plain. In the days of these kings, while these kings are still reigning, not after their days, when the woman rides the scarlet-colored beast, there are no more crown kings. When does the woman rides the scarlet-colored beast? That is the commencement of the little time of trouble. Then obviously, therefore, this kingdom must be established prior to the commencement of the little time of trouble, during the time when the 10 horns are still crowns, before the 10 horns will be uncrowned. Because if they will be uncrowned, then that is after their days. And the shepherd's rod says here, in answerer number 1, page 24, we hold it to be a simple, self-evident truth that as the stone is symbolical of the kingdom, and that as it smites the tools of the image, it necessarily must be set up before it smites them. Just as Daniel said, in the days of these kings, two kings, the kings of today, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. In the days of these kings cannot mean after their days. Cannot mean after their days. And unless the kingdom is set up, brought into being, it cannot smite the nations. Therefore, in this study, let us distinctly separate the spiritual kingdom of God and the literal kingdom of God. The spiritual premillennial kingdom and the literal premillennial kingdom. Because the literal premillennial kingdom will be established during the time when the woman is riding on the scarlet-colored beast, by which at that time there is no more crowned kings. That is the literal premillennial kingdom. But the spiritual premillennial kingdom will be established in the period of time while the 10 horns are still crowns before they will be uncrowned. At the time when the woman sits on the scarlet-colored beast, track number 12, page 32, there are no more crowned kings. So we need to study first the spiritual kingdom. The very statement in track number 3, on page 54, it says, the seed sower, the seed, the field, the season of cultivation and growing, and the season of harvest must together be perfectly calculated to illustrate the spiritual kingdom. Otherwise, the representation can only lead into error instead of into truth. It did not say to illustrate the literal kingdom. Because the spiritual kingdom will be established during the harvest, whereas the literal premillennial kingdom will be established after the harvest. Pointing to the first section of the harvest. So, we need to focus to the time, brothers and sisters, by which the 10 horns are still crowns. And in that period of time, God will set up a kingdom. The spiritual kingdom. So, the spiritual kingdom, He will destroy the beast and its image spiritually. But the literal premillennial kingdom, He will destroy the beast and its image literally. When we'll be talking about spiritually, that is pointing to the principles. Although we will discuss that on our next episode. But I would like to read 2SR 119. It says, Revelation 17 verse 13, these have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. The kings that descended from the Roman monarchy had been in continual strife and will be to the end. Who are the kings that descended from the Roman monarchy? The 10 horns of the leopard-like beast. It was predicted beforehand that they were illustrated, brothers and sisters, by iron and clay that cannot. There is no such prophecy that they will be united. Now, I would like to continue reading. It says, the kings that descended from the Roman monarchy had been in continual strife and will be to the end. Not the end of time, but will be to the end of its career. The career, or in other words, the career of the leopard-like beast. Brothers and sisters, the only predicted event that they will be united as one is at the time when the 10 horns will be uncrowned. But during the time when the 10 horns are still crowns, it says they will be in continual strife. There is no prediction because the 10 horns of the leopard-like beast was illustrated by the 10 toes according to 1 SR 211. By the 10 toes of the great image represented by iron and clay that cannot cleave to one another. So, there is no protection in the carrier of the leopard-like beast that they will be united. So, to the current events, I would like to read this reading in track number 12, although we will continue into our next episode. Track number 12, on page 54, it says, the warring nations are already divided into two distinct ideological camps. On the one side are the democratic governments, while on the other side are the totalitarian. Now, at the present time, of course, brothers and sisters, we will be, if you will say totalitarian, what is totalitarian? That is a monosectarian. That is Catholicism. Although communism is also called totalitarian because to be governed by only one head, that is totalitarian. But since it is pointing to the divided state of the Roman Empire, represented by the leopard-like beast and scarlet-colored beast, according to 2 SR 118, we read several times that it's called the divided state of Rome, by which that represented in the great image by the 2 feet, by which the 2 feet, brothers and sisters, had been multiplied the twos. Since there are 2 beasts, leopard-like and scarlet-colored, the 5 toes is multiplied by 10 horns. 5 times 10, 50. And the other is 5 times 10, the 10 horns of the leopard-like. So that is pointing to the 50 nations in Europe and 50 states in the United States of America. And that's why we explained several times that the perfect fulfillment of this prophecy must be at the time when the 50 nations in Europe and the 50 states in the United States of America will be completely crowned. What is the statement completely crowned? Meaning, given independence to have their own government. So you have 50 states, we have 50 nations, and it was completely in existence in 2012. Therefore, the fulfillment must be from 2012 onwards to the days in which we are living. Now, let's go back to our reading in track number 12. It says, the warring nations are already divided into 2 distinct ideological camps. On the one side are the democratic governments, multi-sectarian system, while on the other side are totalitarian or monosectarian. If the latter continue successfully to prosecute their relentless conquest of world dominion and sovereignty, the only victorious way out for the Christian nations as they humanly view their plight. So it points out to the Christian nations. It says, as they humanly view their plight, will be to surrender their power to the church. But it's easy to understand by saying, all of them will be united, that they will establish image to the beast. What is image to the beast? Ecclesiastical authority clothed with civil power. Story of Redemption, page 381, saying, for seeing Catholic set against Catholic, but in Prophets and Kings, it points out to Europe, the Catholic lands of Europe. Therefore, the 50 nations in Europe, they are not united. They were quarreling against each other, but concerning Protestant against Protestant in mortal combat, pointing to the United States of America, when the Republican and Democrats are in mortal combat, by which that description is fulfilling this year, 2021. Brothers and sisters. And